Welcome back, everybody. This is Deep Threat Sports. I'm Colin Herzog, your host. Your other host over there is David Vega. We're ready to keep this top 38 rolling. We got 12 through 1 action. We know that you guys are good and fired up with us by now, and we look to keep that trend going. Dave, tell me a quick answer. Why are you on Dabo Swinney's ass so much with this transfer portal thing?
Man, tell you the truth, I believe in Dabo Swinney more than he believes in himself. I think he is a great coach. You look at the guy, you hear about guys that have played for him. You see footage all throughout media. He just seems like a great guy you want to play for, like that high school coach. Not that he's a high school caliber coach, but the guy you love, the guy that you are going to fight for day in, day out. Just a genuine, straight up good guy. So, you want to believe that he's a smart guy, that he everything's firing correctly. But then the man goes and doesn't shop in the transfer portal. Why? What are you proving there? Listen, I think you're good, but the transfer portal, I think, is so important, especially in today's day, because at a lot of positions, whether it be offensive line, defensive line, you need guys that are going to be there for multiple years to where you have a cohesive line, guys that have experience. It's not like, you go out at quarterback or wide receiver. Not saying these positions aren't hard, but it's a lot easier to throw a freshman in a quarterback, wide receiver, than it is to throw somebody in on the offensive line, on the defensive line. You need experience. So grab some experienced guys from the portal. I'm not saying strictly from the portal, but some guys from the portal, some guys from the incoming classes. I just don't see why you don't do that. It can only help you, right?
No, Dave, I'm with you. I'm with you. The no transfer portal thing does frustrate me. Like we said before on a previous episode, it's like being an NFL team and not going out into free agency. It's absurd. I love the respect and the dedication and just how confident it is in the guys that he brings in out of high school. You have to respect that. That probably does make some players want to play for him. But on the flip side of that, do you want to go play for him if he's not going to look to always improve this team? I do think the administration probably gets on him if this season doesn't go as planned and says, hey, look, man, let's tighten this ship up. We're going to get out there in the portal. We got some NIL money to spend. But, hey, let's not forget they wrapped the season up on a hot streak. Don't panic yet, man. They could bounce back and raise the eyebrows in this conference. It does not shock me at all if that does take place. They were a non-top 25 defense last year. That does surprise me a little bit. You kind of think of Dabo as he does have some mean defensive lines who can make some noise and wreak some havoc. So they need to really get back to that. The O-line has questions, depth concerns. To your point, that's a perfect time to go get in the portal, right? Go get in the portal and add you a couple offensive line guys to start it off for you. You're Clemson, man. You're going to win those battles in the portal. Cade Klubnik at quarterback, he is a former blue chip prospect. He has to take a massive step in the right direction this year. He needs to calm down, work through his progressions, get the guys open, throw them open if you have to, anticipate it. He sits back on his heels a little much. I think he gets caught. And this team hinges on his performance a lot. They have another running back coming in to Phil Mafah this year, who's an absolute stud too. He can take a lot of the pressure off Cade Klubnik as long as this offensive line produces. Like we know from last year, they do have concerns, but I do think they are a top 12 talented team, and I do think Dabo does help them reach that potential.
Man, yeah, I want them to do good, man. And I don't know why, but I want them to do well. So I hope they do well. I hope they finish off pretty good in the ACC, but, things are shaking up in the ACC too with new teams adding in. So we'll see how they do. One team I am very excited about is Florida State. Florida State sits at number 11. They had a great year last year. A lot of people will say they were snubbed out of the playoffs. So this is the year to get into the playoffs, make a good run, and prove that they were supposed to be there last year. They got a new quarterback coming in, DJ Ugalele. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not good with pronunciation, but this guy I'm kind of excited to hear about because it's another one of those guys where I know a lot of you guys that do like college football probably watch Netflix's QB1 show. So you follow guys like Spencer Rattler, Tate Martell, DJ. I don't remember who he was backing up, but he was backing somebody up during that show. So really cool to see, a guy that you kind of watched, essentially in high school through the show, now be at the big stage at Florida State. So we'll see how he does over there. And Colin, tell me, what do you think about Florida State this year?
They're pissed off. I mean, quite frankly, they are pissed off, and they should be. Mike Norvell's pissed off, and he should be. This team's going to be on a mission. I think they're going to try to come out of the gates hot. They're going to try to run red hot the whole season. He's a great coach. He's really going to rally this team. I think he gets maximum potential from each one of these guys. DJ Uiagalelei, I think is how you pronounce that when he's been around for a while. Pronunciation doesn't get easier the longer he's around, so we're just going to call him DJU here. He is a very reliable quarterback. He's not going to blow your socks off. He's not. I don't think he's the guy that's going to throw you to a victory by himself. I think he is going to need a little bit of help coming to a team like Florida State, where they have a running back like Roydell Williams, wide receiver Malik Benson, who transfers in from Alabama. I do think those guys can kind of help him reach his full potential. You know, they do have an incredible defensive line in Patrick Payton and Marvin Jones Jr. They have an incredible secondary starting off with Finchell Cypress, Earl Little. They have first-team preseason All-American punter Alex Mastromano. The team can really make some noise. They are loaded with talent. Can they put it all together? Can Mike Norvell get them to rally, come off that upset the way the season ended last year, and get them going in the right direction? I do believe that they can. I do believe they bounce back. I do believe they come out hot, and I do believe they kick a lot of these teams' asses on this schedule.
All right, so another big conference rival for FSU is Miami. Miami's sitting at number 10 for us. A lot of people they might not lose a game. Mario Cristobal's, taking the job over there. So I feel like it's one of those where like, man, just let things play and things will go good. But they got Cam Ward over at quarterback, so a big change there at QB. Tell us, Colin, what does this look like for Miami? Are they really going to be that good?
Dave, I'm all in on the Miami Hurricanes. And I never say that about the Miami Hurricanes, especially Mario Cristobal. But Mario Cristobal, do your job. That's all you have to do here is your job. Nothing fancy. Go win football games like you recruit. Do your job. Beat the teams you're supposed to beat. Stay out there. Stay hot. Don't do nothing stupid. Let Cam Ward be Cam Ward. Don't put your thumb on him. Let this guy go get it. Transferring in from Washington State. He's a proven winner. He's thrown tons of touchdowns. He debated to go to the draft, wanted to exercise the portal a little bit. Looked at the draft, like I said, decided to come back. Miami got him a bag, so he's here. He's here to win this thing. They brought a top 10 portal class. They spent tons of money. Brought in Houston wide receiver Sammy Brown. He had over 800 yards last year. Edge rusher Tyler Barron from Louisville. Obviously, Cam Ward brought in a 1,100-plus yard rusher Damian Martinez from Oregon State last year. This team is loaded. They have every piece. They have all the ingredients to make this thing go. I really do think they hum at a high level. Mario Cristobal, don't let me down. Go get it. Win this conference. Really show them that you can get this thing done.
Next up, we have Michigan, probably one of the most controversial teams in college football. I mean, you look at what Jim Harbaugh did over there at Michigan, and you cannot help but just laugh. Like, I mean, he can look back and go NCAA, like, I got away with it all. The guy goes over there, does what he does to the NFL, and then now the NCAA is now, looking to address this, but he's gone. What difference does it make? So will Michigan be good without Jim Harbaugh? What does that look like moving forward?
Well, first, let's touch on Jim Harbaugh a little bit. It is funny, man. Guy wins a national championship after all these speculations come out. Can they prove it? I don't know. I don't care about that shit, quite frankly. They still beat the hell out of teams, man. They still beat some of those high-caliber teams like Ohio State after this all came out. These teams knew what was going on. Whatever. Let Jim Harbaugh be Jim Harbaugh. We're under Sharon Moore and the Michigan Wolverines now. It's a new look for them. Sharon Moore won quite a few games with them last year while Jim Harbaugh was suspended for speculations. J.J. McCarthy's gone. He did go to the draft. He was a first-round draft pick at quarterback. They have a guy like Alex Orji coming in to take his spot. I think he is being pushed at that position a little bit. I don't know if he's been named the starter quite yet, but I do fully expect that to be his job, especially his job to lose. They have Donovan Edwards at running back, who is an absolute horse. First-team preseason All-American tight end Colton Loveland. First-team defensive lineman Mason Graham. first team preseason All American cornerback Will Johnson. These are all guys that can go in the first round of these NFL drafts. So they are still riddled with talent on both sides of the ball. They had the number one defense last year. Offense is really the big question. How's the depth? Can they feed Donovan Edwards? Can the offensive line keep the gaps open for him long enough to get out there and run? What does Alex Orji look like at quarterback? I've seen good things about him. I am kind of a believer in him a little bit. I think he will run the ball quite a bit more than JJ McCarthy did. So what the ceiling is for that team? Probably, honestly, Dave, making another playoff push. What's the floor for them? 8-4 probably. They could probably get down there in that range and lose some games they probably shouldn't. Michigan fans would be upset, but hey, coming off a national championship, they're at an all-time high, man. Run it hot, stay hot, keep the momentum going. Sherrone Moore, you know what to do. Go win some football games, man. Shock them again.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they do well, but we'll see how big of a hit that takes at the head coaching position. Moving into some more change throughout college football, we have number 8 Notre Dame at the head with Riley Leonard coming over from Duke. How good are they going to be? Are they, on an upward trend? Are they kind of stagnant? Where are they at in regards to the program itself?
Yeah, we got Notre Dame slotted in at the 8th spot here. Very talented football team. I do want to recognize the fact that they lost offensive lineman left tackle Joe Alt. Was an absolute stud. But Marcus Freeman's still there. They bring in transfer quarterback Riley Leonard from Duke. Stud. Can get the job done on the ground or in the air. I do like him running the ball a ton at the quarterback position. They also bring in R.J. Oben from Duke, defensive end. He can really get some pressure on the quarterback. That was a huge get. Don't let that fly under the radar. Guy's an absolute stud. Win the games you're supposed to. Don't drop the BS games. Win the games. Do your job. Coach them up. I think this team can do anything they want to do. I think the sky's the limit for this team. I really think they can make a playoff push. I think they can get a high seed in the playoff. Let's not forget, Dave, they're not in the conference, so they can't get the 1 through 4 seed. Those are reserved for auto bids for conference, Power 4 conference winners. Notre Dame's not in the conference. You're kind of screwing yourself a little bit by never being able to get that first round bye. But hey, is what it is. I think they can get to the 5 spot if they really push it. They have first team preseason All-American defensive back Xavier Watts, second team tight end Mitchell Evans, cornerback Benjamin Morrison on the second team preseason All-American list as well, and kick returner Jaden Harrison. They also have a top 10 defense, loads of talent on both sides of the ball. I do think they push that playoff spot. Look for them to make some noise. Don't forget that offensive line is banged up, does have some depth questions. If they can hold up and keep Riley Leonard upright, look for this team to do big things.
Yeah, I mean, I think Riley Leonard, I think he's going to be one of those quarterbacks that does really well. But only time will tell. We'll see how he does up there at Notre Dame. Next, another team that is probably no shock to anyone that they're even in the top 10. Penn State. I mean, you show up to Penn State, it's hard to play there. I mean, their stadium is probably one of the most intimidating in the country. I say they might not even lose a game this year. So what is your thoughts on Penn State? Are they as good as I think they are? Do you think they're okay? Or do you just flat out think they're not what they're made out to be?
I've had plenty of conversations about head coach James Franklin. Do I still think he's the guy for the job? Do I still think he can push this team to the next level? Do I think that he can push this team into national championship contender? I've been on both sides of this. I'll be quite frank with you. And then I see a stat come out like James Franklin being 3-22 versus top 10 opponents. Do they look at getting rid of him after this season? I think not. I think Penn State's the real deal this year, Dave. I think they really pushed the Big Ten. I know they had 10 wins plus last season, and I know they made some noise. This team can really do it this year. I'm sold on them. Drew Aller, Andy Kotelnicki comes in from Kansas. We talked about Andy Kotelnicki a couple episodes ago and how much he opens up that offense. Manny Diaz did leave defensive coordinator position, and that's notable because that defense was filthy last year. He ran off to Duke. They have a guy named Nick Singleton at running back. I think he is a real threat at the running back position. They need transfer receivers like Julian Fleming from Ohio State to get separation and get out and let Drew Aller push the ball down the field. Get open for him. Let that guy make the big throws. He's got a cannon for an arm. Let him do his job. They're top 20 in returning starters. They have first-team preseason All-American defensive lineman Abdul Carter. And like I alluded to, that defense was top 5 last season. Build on that. Keep going in the right direction. James Franklin, keep your name out of hot seat discussions and prove you can really get this thing done.
And again, we've talked how big of a difference the head coaching position makes. So next up, we have Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin, I think, is one of the most underrated college coaches. And no, I don't think people think that he's bad, but I feel like people don't give him enough credit for all that he's done with the programs that he's coached in the past and now looking into Ole Miss. I think he's going to have a pretty successful season. I'm rooting for him. So, Colin, tell us about Ole Miss, and then we'll kind of go from there on, kind of why they're at number 6, because that's pretty high up there.
Yeah, when the rankings kind of came out, I did give it a little sideways look at Ole Miss at that 6th spot, said I had to see it to believe it. You look on paper, it's all there. The ingredients are all there. It's just a matter of Lane Kiffin can put it all together. They were 11-2 last season. Look to keep that going in that direction. Keep winning football games. Jackson Dart coming back at quarterback, 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, over 3,300 yards last season. Continue to take care of the football for him and drive it down the field to receivers like Trey Harris. They did lose Quinshon Judkins in the portal to Ohio State. I do think that could have a little bit of an impact. I think he got all the carries in high leverage situations. So he was a threat for them. But a guy like Alessis Bentley comes in, looks to take that job. They are comfortable with him from what I understand. So, excuse me, look for him to really take over that Quinshon Judkins role. They have the number 1 transfer portal. That is huge, Dave. That is huge. We've done a lot of talk about NIL, a lot of talk about transfer portal. This team dipped in, pushed it in, got everything they wanted. They're also returning a ton of starters in their top 30 and returning starter rankings. Juice Wells at wide receiver coming in from South Carolina in that portal. Walter Nolan coming in from Texas A&M on the defensive line. Man, they are loaded. They have it all, and I do believe Lane Kiffin is a great coach. Look for this team to be all over the playoff conversation at the end.
And coaching. It seems like that's a lot of what we're talking about on all 3 of these episodes of our top 38. Another big team that, the guy is the face of college football. He's done at Alabama, number 5. We got Alabama. Nick Saban, he's already done there, but he's going to continue to make an impact, in college football for the time being. But now we have Kalen DeBoer. He led Washington to the national championship. I mean, crazy. One of the reasons why we love college football, like, who would have thought Washington would have been in the national championship last year? So, what does life after Nick Saban look like for Alabama?
Yeah. How do you answer that question? It's Nick Saban, the best of all time, did everything the right way, competed at a high level every single season. These Alabama fans, they're shaking in their boots. I think they are confident in the talent level they still have. Bringing in Kalen DeBoer, clearly that guy knows his X's and O's, did lead Washington to the national championship, like you said, knows how to get the most out of his players, knows how to capitalize on situations. I always had a question with their recruiting with Kalen DeBoer coming in, not being from down south here up at Washington. Can he recruit in the southern areas? Man, he erased all those questions I had because they're top 2 in the 2025 class. So he's got them going in the right direction. They're still kicking on all cylinders. I still think Nick Saban's probably got his hands in there a little bit, helping things out, probably playing a little bit of chess. They had a top 5 portal class coming in. Jalen Milroe coming back. That's massive for them. Heisman hopeful. Look for him to carry the rock some more this season and really gets the job done with his legs a little bit. They also have first-team preseason All-American center Parker Brailsford, kicker Graham Nicholson, second-team preseason All-American Tyler Booker on the offensive line, Deontay Lawson at linebacker, Malachi Moore at linebacker. So, as you hear it there, they're still loaded with talent. I know they lost a guy like Caleb Downs in the portal to Ohio State. How do you replace him? You can't. You just have to move on without him and find new ways to win football games. That guy was the most talented freshman player I've probably ever seen in my life for watching college football. So you can't replace him, but you find new ways. And this Alabama team and Kalen DeBoer will find new ways, Dave. I have zero doubts in that.
All right. I think Alabama will continue to be successful. They're never going to be a bad team. So exciting stuff for Kalen DeBoer. Now it's just his turn to carry the torch. Next up, we have Texas at number 4. I think Texas is in their prime. Steve Sarkisian really has something going on over there. I'm just curious about the quarterback competition over there. You had Quinn Ewers, which, I say you go with him, but then you also have Arch Manning. Why has Arch Manning still stuck around?
Yeah, I think Arch Manning's still sticking around because I think he really is dedicated to this program. I think he really is dedicated to learning from Steve Sarkisian and Quinn Ewers. I don't think Quinn Ewers should be in any jeopardy of losing his job. Look at what he's provided for this program. Look at what he provided last year. Steve Sarkisian is a great coach. They're performing at peak level on all levels, making the playoffs last year. I think they build off that. I think they continue it in the right direction. The recruiting as well. They have first team preseason All-American Kelvin Banks. They have a top 30 returning class, top 10 portal class. Improved the red zone offense coming into this season. That was a hard thing for them to do last year. They really battled in the red zone, struggled punching it in all the time. That running back room is getting thin, Dave. They are missing C.J. Baxter, who has recently been announced he is out for the season, was probably going to be the starter for them. Look for Jadon Blue to continue to do the job there. They also did lose some depth in Christian Clark at running back, who was also out for the year. So things could get a little dicey there. They have to stay healthy elsewhere to really make a push here. You don't want to be running backless and low on the depth chart in the SEC. That can be tough to do since they are coming over from the Big 12. Look at a new change. You're battling in the trenches week after week. This is going to be no easy push. You're not just going to come in here and push people around like you did in the Big 12. Isaiah Bond comes in at receiver from Alabama. Look for him to probably take over and be the primary target for Quinn Ewers, and that's not a bad primary target at all. So I think Steve Sarkisian and them, I think they build up what they have last year. I'm not saying they're going to do better than last year because that is a tall feat, especially your first year in a new conference. Got him. We finally got a guy got by the mute button. Come on, Dave. Come on back. Bring that mute button off there and come back to us, would you?
All right. Yeah, the mute button got me. So next, RX is probably one of the most exciting, most prolific teams in college football in today's day and age. And why is that? NIL. I mean, ex-Nike CEO said, hey, here's my pocketbook. Have fun, buy as much as you want. So I expect them to go undefeated. I expect them to make it to the national championship. What do you think, Colin? I mean, Dan Lanning at the helm, Dillon Gabriel. I mean, this should be exciting.
Switching conferences is never easy. Talked about it a few times here. Dave, if I could give you just a little bit of advice in life, buy into Oregon, buy into Dan Lanning. They're going to do this damn thing. May not be this year, but it will be soon. Like you said, they're willing to put it all out there. They're willing to spend. They're willing to bring in the best talent. They're going to do that. They did bring in Dillon Gabriel from Oklahoma, who I do think is a solid quarterback. He's reliable. Yes, he's been around for a while. Not quite Cam Rising, but, man, he's getting close. I do think that is a massive get for them, especially after losing Bo Nix to the draft. He did go first round. Still shocks me to this day that he went first round. But, hey, good for him. Glad he got paid. I think they're ready to make a statement right here year one, Dave. I really, really do. That Pac-12 dissolved. They hopped over here to the Big Ten. I think they're going to punch some of these teams in the mouth, and they're not ready for it. They had a top 5 portal class, like I said, led by Dillon Gabriel. Evan Stewart comes in at the receiver position from Texas A&M. They have an experienced, reliable offensive line. That defensive line and that secondary is ready to match up in the Big Ten. They got Jabbar Muhammad as a huge X factor for this defense coming in at cornerback from Washington. That's a massive get for them as well. He can really lock some guys down and do big things, allow that, the middle of that defense to free up a little bit. They have a second-team preseason All-American quarterback, Dillon Gabriel. We talked about him a few times now, but he was second-team preseason honor, so I want to recognize that. And Tez Johnson, who's returning for them, is also second-team preseason All-American. That offense is loaded. That defense is loaded. Dan Lanning's as good as it gets. Dave, to the top Oregon goes. I have zero doubts.
And Oregon, I'm ready to watch them play, especially because you sometimes get to see multiple uniforms throughout the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
By Nike. But another really exciting team, but they've been exciting for a long time. Ohio State, we have them at number 2. Ryan Day, can you believe 56-8 while at Ohio State? That's ridiculous. I mean, crazy stats. How many head coaches at the college level at a big program like Ohio State can say they've only lost 8 times?
Yeah. Ryan Day's on the hot seat. As crazy as that sounds, Ryan Day is on the hot seat. These fans have had enough of losing to Michigan. These fans are disgusted they had to watch Michigan win a national championship. They've had enough. I think the hot seat buzz is ridiculous. Ryan Day is a great coach. The record speaks to it. Sometimes you just got to move over and let teams do their thing. I know that's hard to accept, but I really do think it's Ohio State's time now. This wide receiver room is absolutely loaded yet again. Some call this wide receiver U. I'm not going to debate that with you. They bring in top wide receiver prospect Jeremiah Smith, and that guy's as good as it gets. My goodness, I'm not saying he's Marvin Harrison Jr., but man, he can be, and he's shown flashes of that all over the place. Carnell Tate, number 2 receiver on this team, absolute stud. He would be the number 1 at most programs. And number 1 receiver, Emeka Egbuka. Look for him to be on the Biletnikoff conversations. Guy's a stud. I do have some concerns because I feel like if he was really at that next step and that absolute top tier, Dave, I think he would have gone to the draft by now, but he's yet to do that. I think he looks to come back and capitalize. They have transfer quarterback Will Howard in there from K-State. I'm really anxious to see what he does with this offense. He was hot, cold at Kansas State. I think this offense around him here is obviously much better. So I do look for him to take a step in the right direction. They have first-team preseason All-American offensive lineman Donovan Jackson. Defensive back Caleb Downs, who I talked about when we were talking about Alabama. Still, I'm just in awe by everything that guy brings to the table. Second-team preseason All-American running back Quinshon Judkins. Second-team preseason All-American wide receiver Emeka Egbuka. Second-team preseason All-American cornerback Denzel Burke. Do I need to say any more, Dave? This team is absolutely loaded, had a top 5 defense, top 10 portal class, top 25 returning starters, and a top 5 recruiting class. Dave, they've got it all. Look out. Can Oregon and Ohio State take this thing over? Look for them to be a dandy of a game. I cannot wait.
Man, you are pumped about Ohio State. Ecstatic. But we've got one team that is going to give every single person a hard time. Number 1, Georgia. Probably one of the smartest minds at the head coaching position. Kirby Smart just knows what to do. Do you see them winning the national championship, Colin?
So, how do you say no? We talked a second ago about Ryan Day's incredible record as a head coach. Look at Kirby Smart here, 94-16 as a head coach, hunting another national championship. He's done it. He's been there. He knows what to do. He's pissed off. He feels snubbed from not making the playoffs last year. I am a little confused how they kept them out. I don't want to get into that conversation. You can go any direction with that, so we're not here for that. It's 2024. Carson Beck back at the quarterback position, future first-rounder and Heisman hopeful. He's the top quarterback in the country, in my opinion, right now. He's leading this team. Had 3,700-plus passing yards last season. They were a top 5 defense. They're top 20 in returning starters. Number 1 recruiting class, and a top 10 offense, Dave. Ingredient after ingredient. They got the salt, they got the pepper, they got the garlic. Whatever you're looking for, they got it. It's all there. They bring in Trevor Etienne at running back from Florida. That guy is a monster. Look to hand the ball off to him a ton, get between the tackles. Dominic Lovett in year 2 after transferring in from Missouri last year, and Arian Smith at receiver. Those guys need to be security blankets for Carson Beck underneath. Get some separation, get it out into the open field. They also have tight end Oscar Delp coming up. He was overshadowed a lot last year by what Brock Bowers brought to the table, first-round pick in him. But Oscar Delp looks to slot right in there in Brock Bowers' position. And I'm going to give you a bold take here, Dave. I think Oscar Delp has a higher ceiling and could potentially become a bigger threat than Brock Bowers ever was for this offense. High praise, I know, but I think he's going to get out there and show you something. I have zero doubts in that. They have first-team preseason All-American quarterback Carson Beck, first-team preseason All-American offensive lineman Tate Ratledge, first-team preseason All-American defensive back Malachi Starks, and second-team preseason All-American offensive lineman Dylan Fairchild. Dave, it's all there. Are we surprised that Georgia's in this position? Are we surprised they're at number 1? I would love to hear anybody push back on this because this is no debate for me. Clear cut, get the job done, front runner, they can do it. Shock the world. Just kidding. It's not a shock. Just do it again.
Man, we got a lot of big teams, I think this is probably one of the most well-rounded, let's top 25 in the country because everybody's fighting for a spot at this point. So very exciting stuff for the college football season right around the corner. So this kind of rounds out our top 38. You got to hear what we think, why we put them in these positions, as well as what are we seeing, from each team moving forward into the season. So again, we appreciate you guys joining us. We know this is episode number 3 of that top 38. Keep hanging with us. We're gonna improve. We're gonna get better. We're just gonna keep getting after for you guys because we understand you guys like college football, and we're just your average guys, So I feel like a lot of you guys can relate to us, kind of what our feelings are, kind of where we're at in our football IQ. And then again, going back to football IQ, we got my man Colin. He's got the stats, he's got the numbers, he does the math, he knows it all. So I'm gonna send it over to him to close it off, and then we're gonna go from there.
Dave, I love it. Keep the math out of it, though. I'm not good at that. Math does not love me. We love college football. That's why we're here. To Dave's point, like we said before, we're just some average guys. Hell, you guys want to come hang out with us, watch some college football, cut it up, holler at us, let us know. We're going to try to get together as frequently as we can on Saturdays. If anybody wants to hop on the mic with us, chat it up, give some opinions, we'll hop on with you. Just give us a holler. We would love to hear what you guys have to say. Really anxious to see what you guys think about this top 38 overall. Man, we're ready for some college football, Dave. We're right here. We can smell it. I can't wait to have a hoodie on, sit around a fire, and all we do is talk ball. That's why we're here. Next episode coming up, we're looking at doing some over-under win total bets. We're going to give you some confident bets that we're looking at, maybe some win-loss record predictions, and we're going to drop our top 12 playoff prediction. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. This is Deep Threat Sports. I'm Colin Herzog. That's David Vega. We'll continue to get better. Thanks, guys.